Top 10 cards from Ikoria for Pioneer. Today I'm going to break down for you the top 10 cards from Ikoria that I think are going to see Pioneer play. But without further ado, let's start off the list with number 10, Riel the Everwise. This card has a lot of interesting interaction with Pioneer legal cards such as Is It Charm, Cathartic Union, and Chart a Course. It turns those draw 2 and draw 3s with downside for 2 mana into draw 2s and draw 3s with no downside. And also it gets really big really quickly in the decks that would want to play it. Maybe people finally drop Is It Phoenix and replace it with Is It Riel, or maybe this just makes Is It Phoenix relevant again. Number 9, Escape Protocol. Aside from just being a cool commander card, Escape Protocol is also the cycle build around that I see having the most potential for Pioneer. I think it also works really well with the previous item on the list, Riel. The card is a slightly different version of Astral Slide and Astral Drift, which are both pretty good in their own right, but they aren't legal in Pioneer. While it does cost 1 generic for each blink, it does come down 1 turn earlier than either of the 2 non-legal Astral enchantments. I think this one will eventually find a home. It just may take a little bit more time before someone breaks this one wide open. Probably something weird, like Is It Hollow 1 blinks. It could happen. Without further ado, on to number 8, Luca the Coppercoat Outcast. A Planeswalker that's really only going to see play as a combo piece is really sad Planeswalker. But it doesn't change the fact that Luca the Coppercoat Outcast is good enough of a combo enabler to see Pioneer play. All your deck needs to be able to do is create a token, -2 on Luca, then drop an Eldrazi Titan on your opponent, because this is the only creature you're playing. But there's not really much else to say about this card. It does one thing, and it does it well. On to a more interesting use card, Dire Tactics. A tribe-specific exile creature removal, instant speed for 2 seems pretty strong, especially when the tribe that it's for is already one of the strongest tribes in Magic the Gathering. A really neat card that this helps against is Uro. Don't want to have to deal with a threat that humans otherwise might fold to? No problem. Dire Tactics just shoots it in the face. The best part about it is that this card isn't just something that any Orzhov deck can just toss 4 of in. The developers went out of their way to make an archetype-specific removal piece, and I appreciate this design very much. But even putting aside the balanced design of this neat card, it's also a really powerful card that will help push humans up to meta relevancy, along with some other neat human tribal support in Ikoria. This one piece just does better than most. Number 6, Granath Magistrate. Is it wrong to have 2 Uro hate cards in humans next to each other? No it isn't. Granath Magistrate, unlike Dire Tactics, isn't only applicable to decks like humans. Mr. Magistrate here joins the rank of hate bears in Pioneer, and is definitely one of the better options available. It doesn't just mess up Titans, it messes over all escape cards, it messes over all adventures, and it messes over Bring to Light, and even messes over the odd Aetherworks Marvel deck. I think this one is a very good card to just have a copy or 2 of in your collection, especially if you're planning on playing any white decks that need good hate pieces out of the side. And on to number 5, Luminous Mothra. I have seen a lot of hype surrounding this card in conjunction with Solemnity, and it causing infinite loops. Normally, that would make this card prime material for being one of the top 3 cards. But I only put it at number 5 because I feel while Mothra here is a generally great card, pretty much whenever you're going to cast it, I don't feel the same way about Solemnity. Solemnity is a very specific kind of card that doesn't really do anything a lot of the time when you're casting it, unless you're infinitely looping right then and there. Now let's compare this here to the 3 premier combo decks in Pioneer, which currently are Dimir Inverter of Truth, Lotus Breach, and Mono White Devotion. I feel as though both Inverter and Devotion combos definitely have a leg up on anything that Mothra is going to do. With Inverter, you have a really solid control shell and a good bit of redundancy in the Lab Maniac effect, with both Jace, Wielder of Mystery, and Thassa's Oracle doing pretty much the same thing in the deck, while both being cards you don't feel bad about casting themselves. And with the Devotion combo, you have a really solid aggro shell, and while you don't have the same redundancy or consistency as Inverter with pulling the combo off, neither of the pieces that you have are going to be dead in hand like Inverter of Truth is in the Inverter deck, because both Heliod and Walking Ballista are great cards by themselves, even without having the combo available to you at the moment. While I'm sure there is a good shell for Mothra, I think the lack of redundancy in the combo pieces like Inverter has, and the fact that Solemnity doesn't do much of anything without Broodmoth on board, I think that it is a weaker combo than either of those other two options I mentioned before. I think a really good deck will come for this card, but I don't think a great one will come for this immediately. Don't get me wrong, I think the card's great. I just think that there are 4 cards in the set that are just a bit better. Number 4, General Kudrow of Granath. This is the card I'm personally most excited for coming out of Ikoria. I was already putting together Orzhov humans prior to this card's announcement. While there are good humans in all 5 colors of Magic, the color with the most playable humans in Pioneer is overwhelmingly white. Kudrow finally provides humans a good reason to split off into 2 colors and play humans other than just the mono right a devotion variant. Because if you had to choose humans or devotion, you're going to throw out the humans and start playing just devotion instead. This card adds something that human aggro decks needed in their arsenal of options. This card is another Benelish Marshal with the additional upside in the form of being graveyard hate and situational removal. And it also helps that this card's second color is the other color besides white that you would want to be playing in Pioneer if you're playing Humans deck. Adding in black allows for numerous standout humans like Kitesail Freebooter, Sin Collector, and Glintleaf Siphoner. You also get good sideboard options in black like Thoughtseize, Fatal Push, and Lost Legacy to help broaden the range of what humans can deal with in games 2 and 3. I was thinking that Orzhov humans would be a good rogue option before Kudrow came out, and now I'm thinking that sitting in even much better place with this mustache leading their way to victory. Now, number 3, Sea Dasher Octopus. It is the first and only repeat from my list for Standard. Sea Dasher Octopus is a good card. It seems like it'll see a lot of play in Pioneer, but the place that I think will see the most play with this is in something like Spirits or Mono Blue Devotion, both of which have a lot of evasive creatures. Some Spirit lists are already playing stuff like Curious Obsession, and Sea Dasher Octopus is that, but with additional upside of being able to be cast as a creature and being able to be mutated in with Flash. Mono Blue Devotion wants this for pretty much the same reason. The deck needs to draw cards, and this card does that very well. This is another card that is just generically good, and I can see having multiple homes as the format grows even more. But on to number 2, Lurrus of the Dream Den. So there's already a meta-relevant Pioneer deck in both black and white that already meets the companion criteria of Lurrus, and that deck is SRAM Auras. In SRAM Auras, Lurrus is less of a free 8th card in hand and more of a free comeback mechanic for the deck. Getting to cast back any permanent card from the graveyard is a powerful effect. And even if that effect only nets you 2 CMC and lower stuff, if you already have a SRAM, then you can get an additional card draw trigger from this, while also pumping up your SRAM. And if you don't have a SRAM on the field, then just go grab your SRAM. And I don't think that SRAM is going to be the only place that this cat will pop up, but I definitely think between SRAM and whatever other home lures finds itself, it definitely deserves the number 2 spot on this list. But finally, number 1, if you haven't guessed it, Fiend Artisan. This card is definitely the most powerful thing Ikoria has to offer to Pioneer. The first effect is very reminiscent of Tarmogoyf of modern fame, being a 2-drop that scales as the game goes on. That fact alone would have put this card on this list. But the second effect on it moves the card from just being a very strong card to becoming the most powerful card in the entire set for Pioneer. Aside from just being a creature that scales, it also is a powerful creature tutor that can replace any superfluous creature with a much stronger one from the deck. I think that this card will cause a lot of decks to start seeing play in Pioneer. The first deck that came to mind was the Soulflayer deck, which has been kind of gone for a while, but it dumps a lot of creatures into the graveyard with Grizzly Salvage, and maybe people will also start building things like Golgari Good Stuff, aka the Rock decks. Who knows? But what I do know is that this card is definitely going to make an impact. Fail case, this just pushes Sultide Delirium even higher on the list of best decks. Oh wait, it's already number 2. But that's all for today. Thank you very much for watching, and have a nice day.